Well, welcome to the United States Embassy in Czechoslovakia. I bet you're surprised to find yourself here as I am. Why, when I got that phone call from President Bush asking me to be the ambassador, I answered so quickly and so loudly yes that my husband Charles came running wanting to know what I had agreed to do now. So how did a little girl with 56 curls, who was known to be a screen star, how did she become a diplomat, you wonder? That I had brought more happiness to millions of children and millions of grown-ups, more than any child of her years in all the history of the world. I said, thank you. I turned to my mother and I said, can we go home now? They thought I didn't understand what this was about. But I thought, if I've done everything they say I've done, why are they giving me this little statue? He had this little portable, collapsible staircase. And we used to practice that dance that we did on the staircase over and over and over again. One thing that Uncle Billy taught me was to listen. He said, don't look at your feet. Listen. Listen to the sound that the correct steps make and mimic that. See it visually, what that sound should be, to repeat it. So he taught me to really listen. I didn't know at the time that we were making silver screen history as the first interracial dance couple. Later that afternoon, I saw the First Lady. She was leaning over a grill, flipping lamb chops with fork, a big barbecue fork. I couldn't resist. I reached into my little lace purse and I pulled out my favorite toy, which was a slingshot. I sidled down. I picked up a pebble, making sure nobody noticed what I was doing. I loaded it, took aim, and let it fly. The First Lady was struck. Her arm went up in the air with a fork in it. She looked like the Statue of Liberty. The other hand went to the area where I had hit her. She never turned around to look to see who had struck her. The Secret Service agents, they were looking everywhere trying to find who the perpetrator was. When we got back to my hotel room, my mother reprimanded me in the same area where I struck the First Lady. The Secret Service agents may not have realized what had happened, but my mother definitely did. Now, Shirley Temple opened up a lot of doors, still does for Shirley Temple Black. But once those doors are open, I have to do the job, or they will be slammed shut. I think I really blew it too one time. I was at a meeting with all these Republican women, and one of them asked me who the best kisser was of all my leading men. And I said, Ronnie Reagan, he was the best kisser. And Nancy was in the audience. Yeah, I think that did me in. Now here I find myself back in Prague once again as the ambassador to Czechoslovakia. My goal was to, and still is, to further relationships between the United States and Czechoslovakia, to promote democracy, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. For 19 years, I was in the movies. For 19 years, I was with my family. And now for over 20 years, I've been in public service. The first 3 years, I was in training. But I've had a good life. There's not one thing in my life I would have changed. Not one. I've had a good life. I love people, and I love my life. What's my favorite movie? My favorite movie was Wee Willie Winkie. Why was it my favorite movie? Because I got to put on a uniform. I loved uniforms, as I told you. I had a thing for men in uniforms. I got to march. I got to hold a rifle and maneuver with it. And then they had a stampede of horses. And I hid behind a rock, and I got to run out right before the stampede of horses ran through. That was exciting. That was lots of fun. It was dangerous too, yes, but to a little child. Yeah, so Wee Willie Winkie was definitely my favorite.